I want to talk a little bit about the practicalities of unschooling, how to apply unschooling philosophy to your life if it's something you're looking into. Now, I think one of the first important things to do is to realize that life is not separated into subjects. I think most people that have gone through the traditional way, traditional system, the school system, kind of are taught that there's only a certain group of important things that you need to know, that your child needs to know. Now that's broken down into subjects like math, science, English, for example. Now when you're unschooling, we don't break life down into categories at all. It's a great benefit that we don't have to do that because all of those subjects are part of a rich, full life. And so I think the first step is to try to let those lines that separate subjects kind of melt away. There's so many wonderful quote-unquote subjects, but if you just let it kind of combine all into just life in general, it doesn't seem so detrimental. I mean, you start to see the learning in everything, and not just what others feel are important educationally. You start to see the learning in everything that your child does. I can give you a little example. I said before that it's my job that I'm my child's learning facilitator. So if I see that one of my kids is interested in something, I try to give them as much of that as possible to learn from. Now, my son Devin, a couple months ago, was really interested in sausage making. He was very curious as to how they went about doing it. So I said, all right, let's jump online. So we jumped online, we Googled sausage making. I read it to him, and he read some himself, and we were looking at pictures, and we learned about the history of sausage making, and they showed different ways that they use for the casings, and that kind of led to he just started drawing a little bit about it. He wrote a comic actually about making sausages, and then I said, what else can I do to kind of bring this into his life? And we went and visited a local sausage factory. So I mean, if he learned so much, he had his questions answered. If I was to break that down into categories, we studied history. We studied math. They showed like the width of how long the sausages were on all the avenues that we kind of researched. Art. There was spelling there. There was every subject, every category in our exploration. So if you can find like a passion and an interest, which is like the nucleus of your child's learning at that time, it does branch off into all those subjects many times. So it's not something we do. I don't go through a checklist and say, okay, great, we studied math, English, science, and we just live life. But if I was to break it down, just to inform people, then all of those things, would have been covered here and there. So, yeah, and it lasted for a couple of days that he was interested in it, and it kind of branched off to other things. Learning the history of sausage making, we learned the country of origin, and he studied, he wanted to learn more about that country, and that led to all different things. Making his comic book led to him for days of making other comic books, which led to tons of learning. So, yeah, it's amazing how just by following one interest, kind of noticing it and giving your child as much of the world as possible, how much they learn is a side effect of just doing that. So it's a little bit of a different concept, but it's fun. It's not even worth learning if it's not fun, and that's kind of one of our family mottos. So if it's fun, just go with it. Go with the feeling. Go with the positive vibe. Go with just your child's interests, and it's really fun for the family. I get very excited when they're interested in certain things, and I say, okay, what can we do? Is there a magazine about sausage making? Of course there wasn't, but I looked into it anyway because I just thought it was such a cool thing that led to so many other topics. And so, yeah, that's kind of one way to explain it. My daughter at one point is, really interested in baking. So if you were to break baking down, there would be math, there would be history, there would be science, there would be all of those, categories, as well as phys ed and art, because it's pretty physical. It's pretty artistic. So, that led to us exploring a local bakery and talking to people that enjoy baking and meeting interesting people. And it just her one little nugget of interest, I could have just said, oh, later, I'm busy, we'll make a cake later. But instead it's my responsibility as my child's facilitator to just find that and say, okay, cool, let's start looking into it. We actually got coloring books with cupcakes, and it's just could be really exciting as a family. The closest I feel to my kids is when I'm helping them explore their interests. I feel so close to them and so connected, and I'm so happy to say that my children are my best friends, and I'm their best friend, and we are, I'm not only their parent, but I'm their friend. And in our culture, we kind of we hear that, oh, I'm not my child's friend, I'm their authority, but our life's not like that. We have the best of both worlds. We are friends, and they look to me for answers, and I'm here to help provide that and to provide a stable environment and all their basic needs. But so part of this life is being able to be there to explain things. I think a huge aspect of my child's learning is discussion. At dinner time, at anywhere we are, the kids ask questions. They know that I'm not going to say, oh, just go look it up, because that's not my role. I'm so happy to help them find answers. I mean, if somebody said to you, if you asked somebody, oh, how does that work? And they said, go look it up. I mean, what kind of relationship would you have with that person? Might be a little annoying. And so I give my children the same respect I would give another adult. They say, all right, let's go check that out together. Let's go look it up. And, I am their partner. I think that's a great way to look at it, is being your child's partner living this life. You guys you're in a partnership, and you're off to learn together. I think it took a while of living this life before I really felt how joyful and natural learning was. I love to learn myself, and so part of my role and my responsibility is to kind of show my kids that learning doesn't end, that just, I think conventionally sometimes after senior year, learning isn't really so explored because you're finally able to just live life. But with this life, I love to show my kids that learning never ends and that learning is exciting. I'm studying and checking out henna art. That's a new hobby of mine, and I like to play the guitar, and I love exploring different music, and so my kids see that. They see me hanging out reading a magazine that I enjoy. So I model for them a love of learning, a joyful life, and that's infectious for them. So they even get, I get so passionate about hobbies that I have that they become interested in those things too. In fact, my daughter Dakota has learned henna art, which led to, okay, if I was to break it down, it's led to math, history, English. We've studied, the history of henna coming from Morocco and how it's used for ceremonial things. And I mean, it explodes the learning in our house and the fun. So if it's not fun, then why learn it? It's just so amazing to me how many people have been interested in hearing about this. I really think that if people are looking for a close, connected, loving relationship with their kids, then this is such a great way to go. And that was just one little segment I wanted to share about bringing unschooling into your life and how to go about it. And please continue to send your questions to me. I love to answer them. I love to have topics to discuss. So thanks for giving me this opportunity. I wanted to give a little shout out to a couple people. One to my mother in England. Hi, Mom. I love you. Speaking of which, we're going over to England as a family this year for the first time. We can't wait. My mother's lived over there for about 14 years now. Right around there, 14 years. And we're going to go to Paris together, and I just can't wait. The kids are so excited to go, fly internationally and visit all these countries. So we're so lucky to be able to do that. And another shout out to my friend Scott Noel. Scott, thank you so much for all your help and support, and you're an awesome guy, and I'm so lucky to have you in my life. I feel very grateful. So thank you to everybody, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Thanks a lot.